What's up, Steelers fans? Happy Friday. Let's talk about the George Pickens interview that's buzzing all around the internet. Was it a George Pickens interview gone wrong, or was the reporter baiting him? So if you guys didn't see it by now, here's George Pickens responding, or maybe you could say not responding to a question regarding him and Russell Wilson being on the same page on the Russell Wilson interception play against the Chiefs on Christmas Day.
Seemed like you and Russ weren't on the same page on that interception against the Chiefs. How does that happen, and what do you guys do to address it?
You said me and Russell wasn't on the same page?
Yeah, well, that's what he said.
That's what he said?
Yeah.
Or is that what you said?
That's what he said.
Okay.
Yeah. How do you just address that?
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
I get it. Reporters will ask questions. It could be he just wanted an honest answer. I don't think the reporter was wrong for that. To me, for once, I think George Pickens showed his maturity by walking away and not even responding because he didn't know if Russ really said that. However, here is what I think. The reporter twisted Russell's words by making it seem like he was putting blame on Pickens. That's wrong. Yes, Russ said him and George weren't on the same page on that play, but the reporter made it seem like overall Russ and George are not on the same page. Clearly, Russ knew that Pickens stopped on his route. We can see that in film. Terrell Owens tweeted about it. It's evident that Russ didn't want to throw his receiver under the bus. Nate Burleson on the broadcast talked about how Pickens didn't run the right through. I assume that George Pickens is also supposed to run a go in order to hold that safety. Big Ben on his podcast said the same thing, and then, you know the fact. Russell Wilson said it himself in his post-game press conference that he was expecting Pickens to do one thing and he didn't do that. Doesn't that equal not being on the same page?
Go vertical and carry that safety, or can you explain that for us?
Yeah, I think, he's going to go vertical, but, at the end of the day, it can't happen, on me. I was trying to give Pat a chance. He's hadn't done such a good job for us down the red zone.
It was a mature thing to see from Pickens walking away and not be baited there. Some people are calling Pickens immature because he walked away. Mike Tomlin has walked away from reporters without answering questions. Is he immature as well, or do we pick and choose who to call immature? I get it. Pickens doesn't have a great track record when it comes to reporters and answering questions, but that was clearly a reporter baiting him by twisting Russell's words. I'm not surprised. What else is new? Seems like when he's actually doing good, people are always picking on him. I actually think Pickens is trending in the right direction in terms of being a teammate and a professional, at least within the locker room, at least within the Steelers organization. Now, him in the media? That's a different story. I don't know if he's necessarily improving in that regard, either staying the same or maybe he's taking a step back at this point. But I don't really care what Pickens has to say to the media. I don't really need to hear from Pickens in the media because it's clear that he doesn't handle these situations well. He's not really wired for the media, and that's fine. He does need to handle himself better. He does need to grow up, but still, I think we know who Pickens is at this point, and you know how he deals with the media. It's unique, but that comes with the job. He needs to learn that, and I think he even knows that. Ryan Clark on First Take today said that he was out in training camp, and whenever he talked to Pickens and he even talked to Tomlin, they all agreed that, you know what, there is some growing up that needs to happen. George understands that he has to grow. Coach Tomlin understands there's some immaturity there in the way that he behaves or reacts in certain situations, but he embraces that. It's a reason George Pickens went second round. He's a top-tier talent. My guess is Pickens wasn't paying attention like that to what Russ was saying in the post-game press conference and didn't know that Russ said what he said. So he's probably heard some of the other stuff, though, that he's at fault for that play. People are calling him out, think that he's fing it again. So with the reporter asking that question, Pickens probably wanted to defend himself, thought that the reporter was targeting him or something, wanted to go back at him saying are you the one saying that, or did Russ say that? And the reporter actually was right in his response, because Russ clearly did indicate that Pickens and the quarterback weren't on the same page on that play. So yeah, I think he was just you know what, I'm just going to put up my face. I'm done dealing with this. And I think Pickens was the right to walk out instead of saying something he might regret. Reporter did nothing wrong. Neither did Pickens. It was just a weird exchange, just a tense exchange, awkward exchange that didn't need to happen, and I think Pickens was the reason that it happened. You know what I mean? 'Cause Again, reporter just doing his job, but probably could have worded it better. Pickens, if you answer that in a way literally where you're just saying, yeah, you know what, we weren't on the same page there, but, we're getting things ironed out and that's that. It could have been the most simple response possible. Yeah, we're working through it. It was tough play, tough moment, but, we're going to get back on track. Like, that's all, but instead here we are on a Friday, a day before a pretty big game on Week 18 against a division rival where we could knock them out of the playoffs, where we could solidify our seeding and give ourselves a good advantage going to the playoffs. Whether it is giving us home field advantage or giving us that first playoff game in a minute, based off depending on what the Ravens do in the game before or if we win, we got the better matchup in that wild card game going on the road playing the Texans as opposed to maybe playing the Baltimore Ravens. So it's unfortunate, but it is what it is, man. I mean, this is just kind of what we've been getting with Pickens over the last 3 years. I ain't stressing about it too much. He needs to be better clearly in how he handles the media. I think Tomlin would admit that too. I think Tomlin has admitted that in the past, so this isn't really a step in the right direction, but I do think Pickens, in terms of being a teammate, in terms of being a professional in the realms of the field and the organization, and being in the locker room has been good this year, has been pretty solid this year. I mean, there has been a couple hiccups, but I think it's been more mild as opposed to years prior. Particularly that year too, we were just talking about the snap management stuff and maybe the half-ass running on a couple plays in what was that week 4, week 5? Outside of that, yeah, I think Pickens has done a decent job. I think last thing, I wasn't even going to talk about this because I think people are blowing this out of proportion. But yeah, let's hope our boys get the dub tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Please share and subscribe for more content like this. See you after the game.